That was Sidone Goossens, and this is Sidone Goossens. We're also delighted to be joined by Richard Murdoch and Margaretta Scott, two other performers from those early days. Sidone, when you came in and you were coming in to do very early experiments, did you really think that this thing called telly would ever catch on?
Well, they seem to be working so hard on it that we've really felt that it must.
You were sure that it would?
Yes,
terribly
yes.
novel.
Oh, it was quite amazing. You couldn't believe that it was going to come into your own house.
Yeah.
We didn't even get a television. We had an offer of a television set, but we refused it. I think we were sort of frightened of it.
They also cost £100, which is a pretty large amount of money.
This might have been a gift, I'm not sure.
You lost out on that one.
Yes, I know.
Dickie, I mean, you worked in both comedy and sort of variety in those days, and dancing. Were there problems with the picture in those days? I mean, we have problems with it now.
Well, I was in a thing called the Television Follies, which used to occur about once a month, and it was all live, and it was absolutely terrifying. I remember on one occasion we were rehearsing, and they couldn't get a picture. It was all broken down. So eventually they thought they'd got it going. They shouted up to Reginald Smith, who was the producer in the box, and said, "Is it all right now, Reggie?" And he said, "Well, from here it looks like an animated mass of grey junket."
Often a criticism levelled at me on Daytime Live, but never at Margaretta Scott. Margaretta, we know you now as Mrs. Pumphrey in full and glorious Technicolor, but in the old days of doing black and white telly, you were performing the classics live.
I believe I was one of the first, if not the first actress to do Shakespeare on television.
But doing Shakespeare live on the box...
It was only a scene, you know, scenes. But it was always full of surprises. I remember we did The Merchant of Venice once, and the Prince of Morocco came on, very splendid, spoke his first line, and fell in a dead faint at my feet. And of course no one could come in, you know, so I was left saying, "Help ho, the prince," you know.
All in iambic pentameter.
Yes.
so it matched. Did you ever encounter, Sidney, any of those, the only names to me, but names that conjure up amazing images, like Lord Reith in those early days? Did you encounter him?
But not at television, of course. I don't think they allowed him in there.
He stuck very much to radio,
He was in the radio. Oh, yes, I knew him quite well from the... Well, I started broadcasting in 1923, so it was rather at the beginning.
Was he as frightening as they said?
He wasn't really. He was very prim, very prim and proper, and didn't approve of this and that.
You didn't ever fall foul of him yourself, did
well,
you?
nearly.
How?
No, I don't think he approved of me in a way, because one of the controller actually rather liked the look of me, and he used to peep through the studio and wave to me while I was playing. And somebody mentioned this to Sir John, or Mr. Reith, I suppose he was then, wasn't he? And I was called on the carpet.
Because you were waved to?
Yes.
I say they were days of great prudery.
And there were no drinks allowed in the building, but there was a reception officer there who had to entertain the artists, always the glass of whiskey there in the room. But Sir John never came in there, but his brother used to come in quite often.
Yeah, we've got water here for you today. I have to say this is not gin.
No, it's not.
It was all live, and that was the terrifying thing about it. There was one occasion when they were doing a detective thing, and the detective was supposed to wrestle with the villain and throw him out of the window. It was supposed to be the 10th floor, actually it was only about 2 feet onto a mattress. But when it came to the time, the detective fell out of the window. And now the cameraman was very clever. He saw what was going to happen, and he blacked out the screen, and they put on a thing that said, "Normal service will be resumed as soon as possible."
That's wonderful.
At the end of the program, they said, "We're sorry for the break. It was due to a fault of the transmitter."
That's wonderful.
Not of the detective. Margaretta, did you have to ever wear that ghastly makeup they used to do in the early days, didn't they?
No, always perfectly ordinary makeup.
I mean, now it's relatively normal. How dramatic was it? What did they used to do?
There used to be a yellow, I believe, yellow with black lines on it.
Yes, and that was in
I had to have
early.
my dress shirts yellow.
Yes.
Or blue.
Yes,
Yes, you couldn't have white shirts.
But not one's face.
No.
No.
That was white
just a
anyhow,
sort
with
of
fright.
deep ochre colour, really.
You also look back on those days, apart from the makeup, with great affection. I mean, briefly, I mean, do you think telly is as good today? The chaps behind the camera don't think it's quite as good.
It was certainly more exciting then. I mean, you really were on your toes. I mean, I can remember doing a love scene. I think it was called The Flashing Stream, and close up. And I could see my partner panic in his eyes, not love. And so kind of said, you were going to tell me that you loved me, weren't you? And we went on again, you know, it was fine.
Thanks all for bringing that bit of magic to us today.
All so close together when we were working. Yes,
and it's something that comes over well now. Thank you all for joining us very much indeed. Ladies and gentlemen, Sidone Goossens, Richard Murdoch and Margaretta Scott. Thank you.
To an end of a very special Daytime Live today.
Yes, here at Alexandra Palace. Tomorrow we'll be back in the studio with guest Barbara Hulaniki, the woman of Bieber who dressed a generation, Simon Potter and his pop slot, and all other kinds of excitement. Join us then. In the meantime, from Ali Pally, goodbye.
Bye-bye. See you then.